What the heck is up, you guys? It's your boy Ace, aka Animated Heroes here, back with another action figure review. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Spider-Man No Way Home, the Amazing Spider-Man figure, or basically Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I know that I've taken forever to get to this, and I'm really sorry about that, but here we finally are. Shout out to everyone who's here checking this video out. I greatly appreciate you. Let's go ahead and start off with that sexy packaging. Now for the package, we do have these darker reds and darker blues to symbolize the darker colors of his costume in comparison to Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland. You got the window where you can see the figure, some of the accessories. You got an image of him right here. It says Marvel Studios, Spider-Man, No Way Home, The Amazing Spider-Man, the Marvel logo, Bandai, Tamashii Nations, all that good stuff. Spider-Man logos at the top, nothing much going on the bottom. Full image of him in a pose right here. Another image of him standing tall right here, and then some poses you can get the figure into on the back, as well as some stuff that I can't read because this figure was imported. Now anyway, let's go ahead and bust this guy out of the package and get right to the figure. Now straight out of the packaging, before I get into the figure itself, I do want to give a big shout out to the homie on Instagram, MCU Legends Collector, for sending me this figure. If you guys don't know, I did miss out on this pre-order, and so I was stuck with picking it up from Big Bad Toy Store. You guys know how that operates. Takes forever to get them in hand. Currently, they still don't have them in stock, so if it wasn't for my boy, I wouldn't even have this figure yet to bring you guys this review. So big shout out to you, man, if you're watching. Thank you so much. Now moving on to the figure itself, the first impressions I have of it is it does have all the problems that everyone has stated it does, but at the same time, it is my favorite Spider-Man, and so I still love it. Now, I am going to be going over all of the shortcomings and all the issues that I have with this guy, while also discussing everything that I do enjoy about it. Now, anyway, let's go ahead and take a closer look at this figure so we can examine some of the details. Taking a look at this guy up close, you will see that all the paint sculpt and detail is there. For the most part, this really does look like Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. The head is on the larger side, but if you want to be real, considering the fact that he had a ton of hair underneath the mask, it's actually accurate. So I'm not going to say anything about the size of the head. More so, the issue I have with it is kind of how the back of the head sticks out from the neck. That's a little weird, but that's about the only issue I have with the head. Some people said that the neck is too long. The neck doesn't bother me. Honestly, these are pretty much Andrew Garfield's proportions. The only thing I would say is that the legs need to be a tad bit longer. Now, when you compare it to the Marvel Legends, as you guys can see, the legs are a little bit longer, and I think that's what brings these proportions more to life, because the arms and everything are exactly the same on each. They come right down to the upper part of the thigh, but the legs just don't go down as far as they should. That's the only thing that throws off these proportions. It just kind of makes his body look smaller when you get to the lower half. Now, when we're talking about paint and colors, I gotta say, man, I don't know what it is. I like the Marvel Legends coloring a little bit better. I like the paint in the, I ain't gonna say the detail, but I do like the paint a little bit better. But of course, that's just up to personal preference. I can't really say which is more accurate, but I do believe it's actually the SHF. There's a ton more sculpted detail in here, and the eyes on the mask are definitely a little bit better, just because they have that wider bottom and these don't. So yeah, they're almost the same, but if you look at the promo shots, you'll realize that this one is a bit closer. The spider logo about the same on both. No point in really getting into that. Looks good on the front and the back, but I do love the red more on the SH Figuarts. So it's really up to personal preference which one you think is better. Posability wise, I'm always going to choose SHF, but I'm sorry, I just like the paint better on the Legends. But overall, man, it's a solid figure. It does have some more issues, which I will discuss a little bit later, but some of the main ones people have been having are the proportions. Now, once you get this guy like posed up and everything, you barely notice it, but it is something that is still there, which means I have to talk about it. Anyway, let's go ahead and put him back so we can see how tall he stands. Now, in comparison to some of the most recent SH Figuarts figures we've gotten, this figure doesn't seem to stand that tall, but to the top of his head, as you can see, he's actually right at about 5 inches. So honestly, not very tall at all. Now, of course, it only really matters when you scale him up to the figures that he's supposed to go alongside. And of course, I'll show those size comparisons a little bit later. Moving on to the articulation, he looks up about that much, which I think is a decent amount. You can totally get him in those flying Spider-Man poses, but it does have a problem. If you look at the base of the neck, and I'm actually going to take the head off, you can see that the double ball peg was painted a skin tone color, which, I mean, we were supposed to get a Andrew Garfield head sculpt, but that was unfortunately canceled. Now, normally they give us a separate neck, so I'm not sure why they didn't just paint this red, but maybe they were too far into production and they didn't have time to backtrack. I'm not entirely sure, but the issue does persist all the way down to this joint that connects into the ball peg as well. So you are going to get a bit of skin tone showing whenever you move this guy's head around, but it does pose well enough to where you can get some real expression out of him. The arms only go up and out about that much. I wish they would go up a little bit further, but sadly that's about all you get. The butterfly joints are somewhat effective. They're a little stiff on mine, but you can still get him in those web swinging poses and everything, no problem. He does have a bicep swivel, double jointed elbows that bend all the way in, so that's a plus. His hands are on a ball peg, a very tiny ball peg, so careful with that. They do have the same issue as the Andrew Garfield version. The hands just feel a tad bit too small. I don't know. They do that a lot with their Spider-Man figures. I wish they were a little bit bigger, but I don't know. It seems like they're just not going to get that right. Now, at the diaphragm, he moves around very well. This is probably the best part of the figure. He leans back about that much, forward about that much, and then when you utilize the lower half of the crunch, which is going to be the waist, he moves perfect. All the way forward, not so much back. Now at the swivel, it has the same issue as Tom Holland, where it's just a double ball peg that connects into here, but it doesn't make it to where you can turn him at the waist. That is probably my biggest issue with the Spider-Man figures. I don't know why they won't just use a double ball peg that pegs into the center of the figure, where we can get this guy in every dynamic Spider-Man pose we want, because how it sits now, you can completely turn him at the diaphragm, but that's going to break up that sculpt right here at the waist. Especially if you have him turn this amount, it looks like the outfit just does not line up. So I wish SHF would fix that as well. Now when it comes to the legs, he kicks forward just fine. He could totally get the Spider-Man launcher. He kicks all the way out for splits poses. He kicks all the way back. He does have a thigh swivel, double jointed knees, foot goes down about that much, up about that much. He does have a swivel, and then he does have ankle pivot, and then he does have a toe hinge. So articulation wise, it's decent. It's not the best. It still has a few things that need to be worked on. Hopefully SHF will in the future perfect their Spider-Man figures. I doubt they'll double back and make any of these, but still, it's just some things that do need to be worked on. Now, when it comes to the accessories, this is probably where most people will face their disappointment with this figure, because there are some things that were taken out that I think should have been essential. Number one being the Andrew Garfield head sculpt. Now, of course, we're not going to be given any kind of explanation about why we didn't receive it, but considering the fact that we have one for Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire, it just sucks that we can't have Andrew Garfield posed up next to them with an unmasked head sculpt. Now, there is one other thing that they left out, and that is a pair of fist hands. This is how he comes in the package, with a pair of web holding hands, and I'll show what that's for in just a second. But I don't know why they didn't give him any fists. That is the strangest decision they could have made. But they also did the same thing with the SH Figuarts Miles Morales and Spider-Gwen. Neither of them came with fists, and I was thinking maybe it had to do with a Disney thing, but the Marvel Legends version came with a pair of fist hands. And so I have no idea what it could be. Again, another something we're not going to get an explanation for. But anyway, I'm rambling. coloring. In terms of hands, he comes with a pair of slightly relaxed wall crawling hands. He comes with a pair of widespread wall crawling hands. He then just comes with a regular pair of relaxed hands. He comes with a pair of flipping hands for his web shooters, and then he comes with a pair of pointing fingers for which Spider-Man? You, this one. And so several sets of hands. He comes with 2 of each of the webs I'm going to show, but I'm just going to show one. He comes with a small web shooter, and these are actually a little bit more muted than they have a bit more color to them than the other Spider-Man versions that we got. The webs are a bit more clear on the other versions of Tom Holland and Tobey Maguire. I was forgetting the names, but yeah, they are a bit faded, but just not as much. They're not as translucent. But yes, he also comes with this longer web shooter, and then he comes with the web that he holds, which he holds onto it by this end right here, and that's what these hands are for. Again, he comes with 2 of each of these, and then he comes with 1 of these, and that's pretty much all you get in terms of accessories. So yeah, it sucks. No extra head sculpt, no fist hands, and those I think were essential, especially the fist hands. I can at least acknowledge the fact that they gave us an update about the non-appearing head sculpt right along the way. So yeah, sucks, but what can you do? And I'm not sure if you guys can tell the difference, but I wanted to show the webs beside each other so you guys can see what I mean, at least kind of. The one right at the top is actually the web that came with Tom Holland, and then this is the one that comes with Andrew Garfield. As you can see, one is more translucent than the other, so I hope that gives clarification because I feel like I explained that horribly. So here you go. Not that it really matters, but I like for people to understand what they're getting. Moving on to size comparisons, here he is standing next to the 2 figures that matter the most. We have him standing next to the SH Figuarts Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and the SH Figuarts Tom Holland Spider-Man, both from the same movie. It is No Way Home, and I gotta be honest, man, I don't feel like his proportions stack up to these the way that they should. I think it's completely out of scale, and the proportions just really throw it off, man. This does not look as good as I want it to look with the 2 of them together. And if you watch my reviews, I gave Tobey Maguire and Tom Holland praise, so it's just this figure that's really throwing the 3 of them off. Next up, here he is standing next to the Marvel Legends versions of the No Way Home figures. We have the 3-pack Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, and the Tom Holland. Now I gotta say, the Tobey Maguire is okay for me, even though I know most of the action figure community hates it. The colors are definitely too bright, but it's not bad in my opinion. The Andrew Garfield version is almost perfect, and I feel like these are the proportions that SH Figuarts should have gone with. The colors, it's debatable, but definitely the proportions are more accurate on the Legends, and we're not even going to talk about the Tom Holland because that don't even matter. Next up, here he is standing next to a couple of other import Spider-Man figures. We do have the Mafex comic book Spidey, the Mafex Scarlet Spider, which just released. Go check out my review of that. This is one of the best Spider-Man figures from Mafex. And then, of course, the Mafex Symbiote or Black Suit Spider-Man. As you can see, he's a tad bit smaller than all of these, but it is a different line. Last but not least, here he is standing next to the SH Figuarts Carnage from the Venom 2 movie, the SH Figuarts Venom from the movie, and then we also have him standing next to a Marvel Legends PS4/PS5 Miles Morales, who I couldn't get to stand correctly just because the legs on this figure are warped. Now, the reason I threw him in here is because I always thought the idea of Andrew Garfield Spider-Man teaming up with a Miles Morales would be super dope. Maybe I'll take some shots of these 2 together. But the symbiotes are towering over him, and Miles is only a tad bit taller. Now, when it comes to this figure, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you guys straight. He is undoubtedly the weakest of the 3 for sure, because there's really nothing that just makes him pop like the other figures. Honestly, I don't know. He doesn't have that spark. When it comes to the Tobey Maguire, much of my joy came from nostalgia. We got an SH Figuarts Tobey Maguire. We really haven't gotten a figure of him since the Toy Biz version, and for the most part it's fairly decent other than the loose joints. Now the head sculpts and everything really added to the fun factor, because not only did we get a neutral head sculpt for him, but we got him with a signature grin, and it actually was pretty much uncanny to the look of Tobey Maguire. So something like that made me happy. I was just happy having the figure. When it comes to the Tom Holland version, this is a brand new body and the paint on it is just beautiful. I love how they actually accurately captured Tom Holland's proportions. He comes with two different head sculpts as well, a regular one, a battle damage one. He then comes with the I forget what it's called, the little box that Doctor Strange used to trap the villains back in their timeline. He came with a bunch of stuff and it just looked like a great figure. He still looks beautiful even standing there. I love how the reds, the black, and the golds just really complement each other. But when it comes down to this Andrew Garfield, it's just like nothing is there for me, and it sucks because he is my favorite Spider-Man. But the fact that the proportions are incorrect, he doesn't come with fist hands, he doesn't come with an Andrew Garfield head, they didn't fix any of the waist issues when it comes to posing this guy. As you can see, he can pose, but again, if you turn him sideways, the costume's just not gonna line up because they didn't do that double ball peg at the lower waist. It's mistake after mistake with this figure, and honestly, I just don't think it's worth the price. I hate to say that, I really do, because I was one of the main people stressing to pick this figure up, but hey, if it's not for you, if you don't have it by now, there's no point in jumping on it. Mafex has already announced that they're going to be giving us Tobey Maguire, and they're going to be giving us Tom Holland, meaning that it's just a matter of time before we get Andrew Garfield. Now, granted, it's probably still going to be mid to late next year that we get these figures. If you're willing to wait that long, you don't need these. But if you do want to pick it up as a placeholder, I don't see it selling out. And then, of course, you do have the Marvel Legends as well if you want to double back and pick those up. It's entirely up to you, but this figure right here, man, just doesn't do it for me. Just doesn't do it, and it sucks because I really wanted to like this one, but honestly, this could potentially go down as one of my most disappointing figures of 2023. And even if they had thrown in the Andrew Garfield head and the fist hands, I don't know, man. It's not there. I feel like this is one of those where everything had to be right in order for me to enjoy this figure the way I want to. Now, maybe once I get to posing it around a little bit, I might like it a little bit more. But as it is right now, it's an okay release, but to any Spider-Man fan, it's not necessarily one that you have to have. But anyway, I'm not going to harp on that. It's up to you whether you want to buy it. He's decent, but he's far from great in comparison to the other two. Now, that is my review. Hope that you guys enjoyed it. If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That always helps me out. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Make sure to hit that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload new content. And last but not least, follow me on everything you see listed in the description below to keep up with my activity outside of YouTube. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Stay safe wherever you are, and bye.